Jeff Sessions, Attorney General Jeff Sessions, anointing John Huber, a U.S. attorney outside D.C., to look into possible surveillance abuses by the FBI and DOJ.
Meanwhile, lawmakers are still clamoring for a second special counsel in the case. But is Huber actually a disguised special counsel that's also a federal prosecutor?
Well, our next guest does think so. So here to weigh in on this is our Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano.
You know, when I first started to do this, Brian Kilmeade taught me, to read between the lines.
Thank you.
And to, when everybody's going like this, look at the hand that's not moving. Kidding, of course, but deference and respect to you. So look, the Attorney General appoints the chief federal prosecutor for Utah to investigate three things: the exoneration of Mrs. Clinton before all the evidence was in,
right,
the exoneration of President Clinton and Secretary Clinton on Uranium One before all the evidence was in, and the abuse of FISA by the FBI and the DOJ. So this guy is in Utah. If he comes to Washington, D.C., and gets a half-dozen federal prosecutors assigned to him and a dozen or so FBI agents assigned to him, he is a de facto special counsel.
Sure.
He's doing what needs to be done. He'll impanel a grand jury. They'll present evidence to the grand jury. The grand jury will issue subpoenas. If the subpoenas don't work, they'll go to a federal judge and get a search warrant. That's the way it's supposed to work. If he stays in Utah, he cannot impanel a grand jury in Utah to examine something that happened in D.C. All the evidence is in D.C. You're examining NSA, FBI, DOJ, present and past. The Utah grand jury does not have jurisdiction over events in D.C.
So he's going to make a road trip.
Correct. He will be toothless if he stays in Utah. Remember what Comey did when they investigated Mrs. Clinton. Where was the grand jury? There wasn't one. I've never heard of an effective federal criminal prosecution without a grand jury. You present evidence to the grand jury, you get the grand jury to issue a subpoena. If you need a search warrant, the first thing the judge is going to say, as I used to say, is, well, did the grand jury try and get this by subpoena? It didn't work? You don't have a grand jury? What kind of an investigation is this?
Why did Sessions appoint Huber? What do we know about him?
We know that he is not part of the internal DOJ hail fellow, well-met crowd. And to that extent, it's a good thing. But this distance between Utah and D.C. is going to be troublesome. And if you read the letter that Jeff Sessions sent, it said he's going to stay in Utah. He cannot, from Utah, run a grand jury and an investigation 2,500 miles away.
He could use some of Mitt Romney's miles because he's got to stay in Utah and Mitt can't travel as much. All right, so Robert Mueller, let's go back to that investigation. So what do you think about the accusation that he's not being transparent enough about his investigation and his approach? I thought secret was his goal.
Yes, I disagree with that allegation. I know it's being made by politicians who are impatient with the pace of the investigation.
So are Americans, by the way.
They are. I'm impatient, and I do this for a living. But look, the theory is if somebody is exonerated, you don't want any bad evidence about them out there because that will stick.
Sure.
And if somebody's going to be prosecuted, you want to gather everything you can before you pull the trigger. These things take time. I've said this before. Picture this as a 10,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, and there are parts that are done and parts that aren't done, and we have to wait until it's completed before you can decide where he's going to go.
And these news leaks are not coming from Mueller's team. They're coming from attorneys representing different people who just start blabbing.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And real quick, Roger Stone bragging that he had lunch with Julian Assange. Now that's front and center with the Mueller investigation. He denies it. He goes, I was just bloviating.
Well, if you know Roger, you know that sometimes, like the president, he doesn't always use an economy of words, but he means well.
Gets himself in trouble.
Yeah.
And the president in trouble.
We'll see where it goes. Well, it does stick, that stuff.
All right, Judge. Thank you very much.